Have you ever noticed how the most stressed people always seem to have the most complicated relaxation routines? They've got meditation apps, expensive aromatherapy sets, and yoga schedules that would make a military drill sergeant weep. But here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. Some of the most powerful mood-boosting techniques are so ridiculously simple and weird that your stressed-out friends will think you've lost it. And today, I'm going to share 7 of these bizarre methods that can literally flip your emotional switch in under 60 seconds. Before we dive into these game-changing techniques, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt genuinely relaxed without feeling guilty about it? If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. We've somehow convinced ourselves that relaxation needs to be this grand, time-consuming ritual that requires perfect conditions and expensive equipment. But what if I told you that the most effective relaxation techniques are hiding in plain sight, disguised as things so simple that we've completely overlooked them? The first technique I want to share with you is called the 20-second stare, and it sounds absolutely ridiculous until you try it. Here's what you do. Find any object in your immediate surroundings. It could be a pen, a coffee mug, a houseplant, literally anything. Now stare at this object for exactly 20 seconds and try to notice 5 things about it that you've never noticed before. Maybe it's the way light reflects off the surface, or a tiny scratch you never saw, or the exact shade of color in one particular spot. The magic happens because you're forcing your brain to shift from its default worry mode into what psychologists call focused attention. When you're examining that random object, your mind can't simultaneously run through your endless to-do list or replay that awkward conversation from 3 days ago. It's like hitting a reset button on your mental chatter, and the relief is almost instant. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The second technique builds on this concept but adds a twist that most people find surprisingly powerful. It's called texture mapping, and it works by engaging your sense of touch in a very specific way. Take any object with an interesting texture, maybe a piece of fabric, a textured wall, or even the bark of a tree if you're outside. Close your eyes and spend 30 seconds running your fingers over the surface. But here's the key. Try to create a mental map of what you're feeling. Imagine you're an explorer discovering this texture for the first time, and you need to describe it to someone who has never felt anything like it. Is it rough in some spots and smooth in others? Does the texture change direction? Are there patterns you can trace with your fingertip? This technique works because it forces you into the present moment while giving your analytical mind something concrete to focus on, which naturally crowds out stress and anxiety. Now, the third technique is going to sound completely absurd, but stick with me because the science behind it is fascinating. It's called gravity appreciation, and it involves lying flat on the ground, whether that's your floor, grass outside, or even a firm bed, and spending 2 minutes consciously feeling the weight of your body being supported. This isn't about meditation or breathing exercises. You're simply acknowledging the sensation of gravity pulling you down and the surface pushing back up to support you. Most people report an immediate sense of relief because you're literally letting go of the unconscious tension we carry from constantly fighting gravity throughout our day. When you're standing or sitting, your muscles are continuously working to keep you upright, but when you consciously surrender to being supported, your nervous system gets a signal that it's safe to relax. It's like giving your body permission to stop working so hard. The fourth technique taps into something most of us do naturally, but never think about strategically. It's called pattern breaking, and it's incredibly simple. Whatever you're doing right now, sitting, standing, holding your phone, do the opposite for 60 seconds. If you're sitting, stand up. If you're indoors, step outside. If you're looking down at a screen, look up at the ceiling or sky. If you're in a quiet space, find some background noise, or if you're in a noisy environment, find somewhere quiet. The reason this works so well is that stress and anxiety love routine and predictability. When you physically break your current pattern, you interrupt the mental loops that keep you stuck in stressed states. Your brain suddenly has to process new information, which naturally shifts your focus away from whatever was bothering you. It's like shaking an Etch-a-Sketch. Sometimes you just need to clear the screen to start fresh. Here's where things get really interesting, though. The fifth technique is called micro-adventures, and it's perfect for people who think they don't have time for relaxation. The concept is simple. Create a tiny adventure within your current environment that takes less than 5 minutes. This could be exploring a part of your house you rarely visit, taking a different route to the bathroom, or even just looking out a window you don't usually pay attention to and trying to spot 3 things you've never noticed before. The key is to approach it with genuine curiosity, like you're a tourist in your own life. What makes this so effective is that it combines novelty with movement, 2 things that naturally boost mood and reduce stress. Your brain releases small amounts of dopamine when it encounters something new, and even minimal physical movement helps metabolize stress hormones that build up in your system. Now, the 6th technique might surprise you because it involves doing something that most relaxation advice tells you to avoid. It's called productive worry, and here's how it works. Set a timer for exactly 3 minutes and allow yourself to worry as intensely as possible about whatever is bothering you. But here's the catch. You have to write down every worry, no matter how ridiculous or repetitive. The magic happens when the timer goes off. You stop worrying, put the paper aside, and tell yourself that you've officially done your worrying for the day. If the anxiety tries to creep back in later, you remind yourself that you already handled the worrying during your designated worry time. This technique works because it gives your anxiety a specific time and place to exist, which paradoxically reduces its power over the rest of your day. The 7th and final technique is perhaps the most unusual, but it's also the one that creates the most dramatic mood shifts for most people. It's called the narrator method, and it involves spending 2 minutes describing your current experience out loud, as if you're narrating a nature documentary about yourself. You might say something like, "Here we observe the human in its natural habitat, currently experiencing elevated stress levels. Notice how the shoulders have migrated toward the ears, a classic defensive posture. The subject appears to be breathing in short, shallow bursts, a clear indication of sympathetic nervous system activation." This works on multiple levels. First, it creates emotional distance from your stress by turning you into an observer rather than a victim of your circumstances. Second, it often introduces humor into the situation, which naturally releases tension. And third, it forces you to become aware of physical stress signals you might not have noticed, which allows you to address them directly. But here's what I find most fascinating about all of these techniques. They work precisely because they're not trying to be profound or life-changing. There's no pressure to achieve some deep state of enlightenment or to fix everything that's wrong in your life. They're just simple pattern interrupts that give your nervous system a chance to reset. The beauty of having multiple techniques in your toolkit is that you can match them to your current situation and energy level. Feeling mentally scattered? Try the 20-second stare or texture mapping. Physically tense? Go for gravity appreciation or pattern breaking. Overwhelmed by thoughts? Productive worry might be your best bet. Need a quick energy shift? Micro-adventures or the narrator method could be perfect. What I love about these approaches is that they acknowledge something important. Sometimes the best relaxation techniques are the ones that don't feel like work. We've been conditioned to believe that anything worthwhile requires effort and dedication, but sometimes the most powerful interventions are the ones that feel almost too easy to be effective. Think about it this way. When you're really stressed, the last thing you want is another item on your to-do list, even if that item is supposed to help you relax. These techniques sidestep that resistance because they're so simple and quick that there's no mental barrier to trying them. And here's something I want you to consider. The effectiveness of these techniques isn't just about the specific actions you're taking. It's also about the fact that you're taking intentional action to improve your state of mind. That act of self-care, even if it's just 20 seconds of staring at a coffee mug, sends a signal to your brain that you're worth taking care of. That psychological shift can be just as powerful as the technique itself. Of course, I'm not suggesting that these quick techniques replace more comprehensive approaches to stress management and mental health. If you're dealing with chronic stress, anxiety, or other ongoing challenges, working with healthcare professionals and developing longer-term strategies is important. But these tools can be incredibly valuable additions to your wellness toolkit, especially for those everyday moments when you need a quick reset. The real test, though, is whether you'll actually use them. It's one thing to read about these techniques and think they sound interesting, and it's another thing entirely to remember them when you're actually feeling stressed or overwhelmed. My suggestion is to try each one at least once over the next few days, just to see how they feel for you. You might find that some resonate more than others, and that's perfectly fine. Also, don't underestimate the power of combining these techniques or adapting them to fit your specific situation. Maybe you create a hybrid approach where you do pattern breaking by changing your physical position and then immediately follow it with 30 seconds of texture mapping. Or perhaps you find that doing the narrator method while practicing gravity appreciation creates an even more powerful effect. The key is to approach this with a spirit of playful experimentation rather than rigid adherence to rules. These aren't sacred practices that need to be performed perfectly. They're tools designed to serve you, and the best tool is the one you'll actually use when you need it. So here's my challenge for you. The next time you notice your stress levels climbing, instead of reaching for your phone or diving deeper into whatever is bothering you, try one of these techniques. Give yourself permission to spend 60 seconds doing something that might seem silly or pointless to an outside observer. Notice what happens to your mood, your energy, and your perspective. And remember, the goal isn't to eliminate stress from your life entirely. That's neither possible nor desirable. Stress can actually be useful in many situations. The goal is to develop the ability to consciously shift your state when stress stops serving you and starts controlling you. Your future self will thank you for having these tools ready when you need them most.